don't you? Join Mike and Alan on the breakfast show. Find it here on Spectrum on Air, the colorful voice of radio. They are professional, don't you know? Looking after you here on the breakfast show. Don't go anywhere else, there's nothing better, you know. So join Mike and Alan on the quirky breakfast show, here on Spectrum on Air, the colorful voice of radio.
It's a good job I leave the studio microphone off on occasions when, especially when Mr. Mallion is humming along to it as well.
I like singing first thing in the morning.
I know you do, and God bless you for that as well, you know, and other things too as well. Listen, it's Friday morning and we got to the end of the week reasonably unscathed.
Well,
so, you know.
Some say.
Yeah, and listen, we have got a show for you this morning. It's
going to be a blinder this morning.
It's going to be an absolute blinder. Let's kick off with Brent Braidwood and Angels Go.
Lay beside you as I watch you while you're sleeping, the air holds your cologne. Feel you near me, safely keeping every heartbeat in your heartbeat as if it were my own. Anywhere you go, you know find another you. Others had me all alone and hollow. Not like you, not like you. It's more than loving, it's hand in gloving. Once in a lifetime at the right time, your love came along. Anywhere you go, you know I'll follow. I'd never find another you. Others had me all alone and hollow. Not like you, not like you. If you had me, answer truly how I found you in a million. Surely I don't know. But here beside you, holding on to, it's forever to wherever they say the angels go.
Well, that was Angels Go from Brent Braidwood, and I'm very, very pleased to say that we're going to go all the way over there to Canada to say hello, Brent. How are you? Braid.
I am fabulous. Fabulous. Thank you very much. How are you doing?
Great stuff. Now, thanks for getting up so early in the morning to chat to us, because there is a little bit of a time difference there, isn't there?
A little.
Yeah, a little bit. There you go. I must say, you're looking really fresh for a young man in the morning.
Well, there you go. Well, like I say, I'm normally actually an early riser, so this isn't too far out of my wheelhouse, really.
Ah, that's good. Right, now let's go back then to the early days of Brent's, because you were influenced by a lot of really good artists, weren't you?
Oh, I should hope so. The number one, of course, I'm sure you can guess what it is, would have been the Beatles. I saw them when they were on Ed Sullivan. I remember it as clear as day. I would have been in grade 4, I guess it would have been. And I was standing next door, beside my mother, and my grandmother was standing in front of us. We actually lived next door to my grandparents. And our normal routine on Sunday nights was to watch Ed Sullivan and Bonanza. Did you get Bonanza over there?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, so those would be the two shows we would watch, and we would, have our Sunday night bath. Right. We'd wash our hands and face during the week, but we'd have our Sunday
the
bath.
bath once a week. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Because we were raised by Depression era parents, right? So you didn't waste anything, including bath water.
No, that's
so
right.
we'd get into our jammies and watch the show, right? That was our normal routine. And in those days, you only had 5 channels to choose from anyway. And like I say, I was standing beside my mother in front of my grandmother, and they were talking and talking. And then at one point in the conversation, she said to my mother, but ostensibly for my ears as well, "Make sure the kids watch Ed Sullivan tonight." And I was standing there. I said, "Well, why should we watch?" My mother didn't say anything. I said something. I said, "Well, why should we watch Ed Sullivan particularly tonight, Grandma?" She said, "Because the Beatles are on." What are the Beatles? I didn't even know, but my grandmother did. And that changed everything. That was incredible. It was just unbelievable. I'd never seen anything like it. Excuse me, just for 2 seconds. Yeah, I'd never seen anything like it in my life. It was just incredible. And then, of course, the whole wave of British influence started after that. It was a heck of a time to grow up.
Was there a lot of competition then in those days in Canada between other groups and that, or was it mainly influenced by the guys coming out of the UK and that sort of thing?
Oh, yeah, the UK and the US. Canada's, well, I mean, we did have Paul Anka, right, prior to that.
One of my favorites,
so, yeah. And, but as far as the, pop rock scene is concerned, like, I suppose the closest one coming along would have been of any international kind of stature would have been probably the Guess Who, I guess. And then there was the folk scene before that with Gordon Lightfoot and Joni Mitchell. Yeah. But as far as rock and rollers were concerned, I would say probably the Guess Who would have been one of the bigger ones to come along. But after they had sort of kicked down the gates, and other Canadian acts came along, like, including probably the most famous one, but that was a little later on, which was Bryan Adams. But none of that kind of music scene really was there in the beginning, not when the Beatles hit, that's for sure.
So you didn't really go through the age of the sort of the 60s and the 70s? Yeah. No?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
No, what's that?
Yeah. Did you go through then the age of the 60s and the 70s music as well? The same
yeah, I mean, I would have been 9 in 1964, right, when the Beatles hit. Yeah. So, I mean, it was just like, what are these guys doing? I mean, and, it was just... It was just a tectonic shift in the plates that happened then. Yeah. But yeah, so I would have been a kid, but by the time I was into the 70s, into high school, then I was started playing in bands. I picked up a guitar by the time
that's when you started then, was it? And it sort of really kicked in, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, because I was old enough to then understand what was going on. Because, I mean, again, growing up music-wise, I mean, I was under my parents' influence. So that was... that would have been Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, and all that jazz, right?
The greats, yeah.
Yeah. So, it took you a while to figure out what was going on in the world generally, because it changed everything. But I mean, that was one unbelievable year, because I was grade 9, I was in grade 4, and we were already into the good part of the year. Into November. We were well into November, and I was in Miss Weeks' class. I loved Miss Weeks. She was a great teacher. She also looked pretty darn good too, and boy, did she ever know how to wear a cashmere sweater. And yes, I knew that even in grade 4. Yeah. So anyway, we're doing our routine, we're doing our thing, and I remember it as if it happened last week. There's a knock on the door. So she goes over to the door, and from where I was sitting, I could see who it was, and it was the teacher from the next door. And he normally would go to the office to pick up newsletters and stuff like that. So it wasn't unusual for him to be at the door, but it was usually a quick affair. Oh, hi, thanks for the newsletters. Okay, talk to you later, bye. And that was it. But this time he was lingering. And okay, so what do they talk about? Maybe there's a lot of newsletters. And then we started talking and whatnot. And she was by the door and she turned around and says, now you guys know what you need to be working on. So you work on that. I'll be back in a minute. And this time she stepped outside, which she never did. So she stepped outside and then they're talking, and the kids at the front, well, they're talking about something serious, but we can't figure out what it is. What is it? What is it? And I know what it is. I bet it was the kid who put the gum on the teacher's chair. That's what, yeah, it has to be that level of seriousness. Yeah, they finally caught that. Now, that was true. There was a kid doing that, but they couldn't catch him. So they thought, yeah, that has to be it. That has to be that level of seriousness. Well, finally, Miss Weeks comes back into the class, and her face is as white as a sheet. And you could have heard the proverbial pin drop in that class. And finally, she just looks at us, and she says, the President of the United States has just been shot. Didn't even know he was dead yet. Oh. And then, of course, at 9 years old, I start hearing the assassination. Well, what does that mean, right?
Yes, yeah.
Well, what was it, 3 months later? That's when the Beatles appear. Yeah. That changed everything because we were sent home. It happened on a Friday. The assassination happened on a Friday, and we would have been in the time zone we were. It just happened before noon. We were sent home for lunch. And in my 9-year-old mind, I thought we were sent home because, it's sympathy for the President of the United States. He got shot and all this sort of stuff. I only found out later the reason why they sent us home was to kiss our parents goodbye, because they figured with the assassination of Kennedy, we might very well be in World War III. And, if that's the case, then that would be nuclear weapons.
Yes, yeah.
We didn't know that at the time. So, like I say, 2-3 months later, or whatever it was, the Beatles appear on Ed Sullivan. Changes everything overnight because there's this black cloud from November until that time. It was an incredible time. So, like I say, I'm trying to process all this. What the hell's happening with the world, let alone specifically music? It was, an incredible time. And then not to mention the other assassinations that took place later in the decade with Bobby Kennedy and Martin Luther King.
Well, that's right. Yeah.
Exactly. So things sort of settled down a little bit in the 70s, and like I say, I was a teenager by that time, and I picked up the guitar in high school and just started.
I was going to ask you, was it tinkling on the piano or picking up the guitar? But you answered
I was picking up the guitar. First of all, I had started out with piano. Actually, my parents put me in piano lessons, but it's just learning scales and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, yeah.
No, sorry. So I got a guitar and I just started hanging out with friends who were like-minded and had typically a guitar themselves. And so we would just get together and sort of teach each other and learn and have fun. So there was a guitar class that was offered in high school, actually. But again, it was the old school kind of here's your scales and all this kind of stuff. But the one thing that was interesting is that the music teacher had these chord charts with the lyrics all printed out of quite a few of the popular songs of the day, from the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, Creedence Clearwater Revival, etc. And they had the little chord charts where you put your fingers up at the top of the page. So that was pretty easy for me to figure out because I already knew the tunes. I knew the melody. So, that's how you form the chord to change that. And it was from that very basic beginning, just how to figure out the chords and, play to the songs I kind of already knew because I knew where they were supposed to go melody-wise. But, that was kind of how I started out and then just progressed from there to playing in bands. But I was far too sensible to put all my eggs in one basket. So how there's always a plan B?
Yes.
Well, plan B wound up being plan A for the last 30 years. But I've never left music. I never abandoned it. There have been times when I did leave it for a while, certainly when I got married and had kids. You couldn't really be putting the time into it then. But I was either playing in bands or writing my own stuff, but mostly I was interested in recording. So even from the earliest days, I had managed to get a hold of a little cassette recorder that you could only press record. There was no multi-tracks or anything like that. But I just set up the guys in the little basement in our rec room downstairs. Okay, guys, 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Yeah. And try to record something on a little cassette deck. And then just progressed up from there from other more sophisticated recording equipment and just got hopefully better at what I was doing. And here we are today.
Yeah. Well, let's take a bit of a break then, and we'll go in with "Lonely as a Cloud." Tell me about that one.
Lonely as a cloud. Lonely as a cloud. Well, my plan B, I was actually an English teacher, high school English teacher for 30 years. So that comes from a Wordsworth poem. I wandered lonely as a cloud.
Yes, through fields of golden daffodils.
There you go. So but I turned it around because Wordsworth is using it as a more freeing kind of thing. I wandered lonely as a cloud to be able to observe this, that, and the other thing, which is more positive. But I took that phrase and turned it around as to something not so positive. And the person is as lonely as a cloud. He's unmoored. He's wandering lonely like a cloud. However, he is in this house, but he's lonely within the situation he's finding himself in. He's in this little old house and he's by himself, and he doesn't want it to capitulate to the forces of modernity. So that's basically what that song's kind of about. Actually, the second line, I wandered lonely as a cloud far above the madding crowd. That's from, who's that from? Thackeray? I think it's from Thackeray. Anyway, so I just took those two lines and built the song around it that way.
Great. Let's have a listen then.
Sure.
He wandered lonely as a cloud, far above the madding crowd he'd fly, and yet the rain inside him fell. Anywhere the wind blows, anywhere the thing goes, hard to tell. He fell asleep for 100 years. They couldn't wake him, so he didn't hear them say they wouldn't need him anymore. We don't need him anymore. Stalling all around him, faces none of them we could ignore. All in a day, what went wrong? Someone knows, they just won't say. He lived alone in a little old house. He took a stand to the big and loud outside, and then the dream lost all its charm. Still he had the courage. That's the way you catch him by the arm. Anyway the wind blows, that's the way you catch him by the arm. Anyway the thing goes, that's the way you catch him by the arm.
Right, that was our guest this morning, Brent Braidwood, and Lonely as a Cloud. Now,
There you
then,
go.
just let me into a little secret. And what was your plan B? Are you going to be an accountant, a doctor, a lawyer?
No. Plan B was that I was a teacher.
Oh, sorry,
in other-
as a teacher, yeah.
yeah. So in other words, I didn't. Like I say, I didn't want to put my eggs,
Yep.
in one basket.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's face it, even under the best of situations, music is a rather dicey business to be in. So, and because my interest was really more in recording than performing, I do perform, but I don't play my own songs. I do covers. So my interest was always more in recording than anything else. And so, I could do the recording on my own, regardless of what job I had, even if it wasn't directly involved with music.
Yeah.
So that's how the plan B wound up.
So I mean that leads me nicely onto the fact then that I mean you are well suited to talk about the way technologies move, because as you mentioned, a little room with a cassette recorder into a studio with 40 faders or something, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely been a journey. That's for sure.
Yes.
But and of course, digital changed everything. I mean, that was a huge learning curve for me, because I grew up on reel-to-reel analog tape, right?
Yeah.
That's how it was. But when digital came along, that was an entirely new game, and a really quite the learning curve, because it was so different. But of course, that's all I do now is just digital, and there's so many things that are superior in digital than they were ever in analog. But arguably, there's that richness in the analog sound, which is why you have people buying vinyl LPs and all that sort of stuff. I'm not sure if the average person can hear the difference between vinyl and CD, but as far as being able to put music together, CD's got analog beat 6 Ways to Sunday. It's just a much easier process.
Well, once you learn how to do it, yes.
That's the trick.
Yeah, I mean, I was brought up in recording studios, but that was when you had single-sided razor blades to cut the tapes and that, you know.
Oh yeah,
little Chinagraph pencil, you know, and so on.
Yeah.
And now when you look at squiggly lines on a screen and sort of move them about all over the place, I must say it's a lot easier because.
Yeah, it is. But like I say, the catch is once you learn it, though.
Well, I mean, you know, the times you cut a bit of tape up and it dropped on the floor, and you wondered which piece of tape was the one that you wanted to insert. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've been there, done that. Got the T-shirt. I know what that's all about. Yeah, that's how we used to do it in the old days.
It's interesting, though, isn't it? Because of technology, it's opened up the whole world of music, and in fact, now we're getting into a secondary type of problem with AI, aren't we?
Yes.
And that's a serious problem, isn't it?
Well, the other thing too is that I just found out. I don't know to what extent this is true or not, but apparently Spotify is now placing AI artists on their playlist.
Yes, I've heard this, yeah.
Well, if that's the case, then I can't imagine Spotify lasting terribly long if they're going to be doing that.
No.
I mean, that seems to be the antithesis of what they were set up for in the first place, is to bring you new artists.
Yes, yeah.
Well, if they're bringing you a computer-generated artist, really? We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, and people get confused really in the sense of synthesizers years ago. You know, I mean that changed the music aspect of it, didn't it? Because the stuff was more electronically modified, as it were. But now,
right,
because voices and everything else. I mean, we as a station, we actually, when we get new material offered to us, we get the contributor to actually state whether there's any AI in it at all or not. You know.
Oh. Okay.
And I mean, all right. Again, you've got to take their word for it, but we try not to at the moment to encourage AI generated stuff for the reasons you mentioned. You know, it's.
Yeah. Well, I know that. Like even in the Beatles case, when they were doing that live broadcast of "All You Need Is Love," there was some issue with the musicians union about the string instruments that they were going to use behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Because I think George Martin wanted to record them to minimize. Okay, we want to minimize the possibilities for failure of this thing because it had never been done before. And the issue came up over whether they were going to use the recorded tracks from the musicians, from the string players, violins, violas, cellos, whatever else they were playing on there, because it contradicted or contravened the musicians union's requirements for having live players.
Yes. Yeah.
And so when the thing came up about the tape with the strings, there's a big frou-fra about that. And yeah, there was also issues coming up when synthesizers, as you mentioned, because they were taking over string players that used to come in as session players.
That's right. Yeah.
So you can't fight technology, but technology is going to wind up taking you one way, in one direction or the other, kind of whether you like it or not. And then the best you can kind of do really is sort of ride it out and see where you go.
Hopefully that's the way it will go, you know. I mean, I think it will either form itself into its own genre, and leave the rest of us alone, you know, or otherwise. I mean, I know that YouTube is very keen. I mean, we've received several warnings from YouTube for inadvertently playing stuff, you know, that has got AI in it or is not original and this sort of thing, claiming to be original.
And they've warned you about this?
Sorry?
Then they warn you about playing this kind of stuff?
Oh, yes, yeah, they have.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, on a couple of occasions, YouTube have taken the station off air for a couple of months, you know. But we've gone back to them and fought the case, and they've agreed, you know, that it was unintentional on our part, you know.
Right. Right.
So,
Right. Well, that's interesting. I suppose that's encouraged. But like I say, you know, you're not going to be able to stop the technology. It depends on how you find an acceptable way of employing it in the business in which you're employing it, whether it be music or whatever, right?
Yeah, and of course, it all boils down to the people who buy the records, doesn't it? You know, buy the music.
Of course, of course. Yeah.
But I mean, now of course it's got so different with purchasing and that sort of thing. And I mean, I've got yeah.
Well, I was just going to say the business model that allowed the music industry to flourish as you and I would have known it growing up. Well, that simply no longer exists because nobody's buying physical product.
Right.
Actually, speaking of Spotify, what Spotify has done is it's changed a product that you purchase into a service that you rent.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know how long. Apparently, the Gen Z are buying up an awful lot of CDs, and because they've come to the realization that when they own that CD, they own it. Because I don't play them, or I don't listen to Spotify as such. I'm still listening to old school CDs.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, you have that in your possession. But if you sign up for their subscription, as far as I understand it, they at any time can remove this song, that song, or whatever song, even if that's the song that you signed up for their prescription for in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
But if you have the CD, you have that forever.
Yeah.
And so there's something to be said about the possession of physical product that for whatever reason, Gen Z is deciding this is a good thing. And from the statistics, apparently they're buying up more CDs than even the boomer generation is.
Well, that's right. And I mean, and vinyl's made a huge recovery, you know, and I
This
think,
is true.
again, it's probably, twofold, really. I think probably one is that they inadvertently think that the sound is better. Because to be truthful, I think that most of them are deaf as a door now, you know. But I think you know they've actually got it physically in their hand, and you know they can say, well, yeah, you know, this is mine, you know, and it's
Well, and of course the thing with vinyl, if anything's going to make a comeback, it would seem to me to be more sensible for CD to make a comeback because of its relative indestructibility. Because you know the reality is you've got that stylus coming in contact with the vinyl on your record. And every time that record revolves around, you're wearing a little bit of that vinyl away, which is why you get the hiss at the end if you play the crap out of your records, right?
Yes.
So you don't get that on CD. So if any of those two forms...
You don't get that. But I mean, if you're a bit like me and you've got sweaty palms and you take a CD out, you know, and there's you've got a thumbprint on it or whatever, you know.
Oh, you mean you don't wear your
fuck a show
scientific
up.
white gloves to handle it?
Yeah, I know, yeah. Oh, well, I learned that after going the hard way, you know, when a CD would stick, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
especially when you're doing a live music show, you know.
Yeah. Well, look, no technology is foolproof, but like of the two, I would much rather see it come back to CD. The advantage that vinyl has is that it's a much bigger format. Yeah. So, again, going back to the Beatles, you know what that Sgt. Pepper album looked like in vinyl form. You could see all the faces on the front cover.
Yes, yeah.
Try and make out those properly when it's, you know, in the shrunken CD form, right?
No way.
The artwork doesn't hold up. So you have to adjust the artwork for a much smaller format to grab that attention. But grab that attention for what purpose? It's not in a music store anymore.
No.
The reason for having catchy album covers was to grab the customer's attention in a record store and hopefully buy it. Yeah. But nobody's in record stores to see the cover anymore.
No, you don't get them. That's right.
No. So actually, in conjunction with that idea, is that I don't normally release when I release a single like the ones you mentioned you've already been sent to you. I don't normally release a video. No. But this new one that's coming up, it's called $1 Million Day. It should be out within the next couple of weeks, if not a month or something like that.
Yeah.
And I have got a video. I have got a video that's going to be coming out with that. And actually, when it does come out, I can get back in touch with you and send you a link for the video.
That would be fantastic, I think, actually, because then we can run it out.
Yeah. So people are watching YouTube and they're downloading from Spotify, right? So I'm figuring, okay, well, if I put this video out and they see that they have the visual image to go along with the audio, well, maybe that might, have some effect on it. But I can't be sort of putting my energy into creating a CD cover when nobody's actually going to be looking at the CD cover.
That's right. That's right.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Brent, listen, it's been lovely to talking to you this morning, and we got to keep in touch, all right? Because
absolutely,
when you're you got the link now. Well, no, there's another link I'll have to send you, all right, to get on the show.
No, I've got your original email letter, so I can contact you that way.
Please do, yeah. And listen, we're going to go out. We'll call you at midnight. So I mean, it's not quite midnight yet. It's early doors for you, isn't it? But
well, close enough for me, maybe.
Yeah, tell me about this one.
Sorry, what was that? Did you say?
Call me at midnight. I'll call you at midnight.
Call you at midnight. Well, call you at midnight was basically, I guess I'd call it an exercise in style. Yeah. Because I was always fascinated with, again, the Beatles. You know that When I'm 64 and 1910 Fruit Gun Company, I think it was.
Yeah.
I can't remember. You gave me the answer to the... Yeah. No, that's even Paul McCartney.
I am a walrus. I am a walrus.
No. What I'm thinking of is those kinds of songs that artists came out with in the 70s that kind of harkened back, or late 60s, early 70s, that kind of harkened back to the 1920s or 30s.
Oh, yes.
Like When I'm 64 kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So it was an exercise in style. Yeah. And I just happened to come across the chords. They were unusual chords for me. There were some diminished and all that sort of stuff in there, which I don't normally do. And it was just a pattern that I found interesting. And then I realized, this is sort of in this kind of style. And then I just... wrote the songs around it as if it were, kind of tongue in cheek about a guy wanting to call this girl up. And would you be mad at me if I called you at midnight? And well, what do you want? Well, just tea and cheese. That's all.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I just wrote it around the chord pattern that kind of fell into my lap, and realized that it suited that style. So that's how I did it.
Sunlight fades the life right out of me. Start
And that was our guest this morning, Brent Braidwood, all the way from Vancouver.